Last week we got confirmation that Criterion, on its 30-year anniversary, was becoming a Battlefield studio, which means that their future in making racing games and Need for Speed is officially behind them. And just like that, one of mine, and possibly one of your favourite racing game franchises, is now good as gone. And I am not one bit happy about this. Need for Speed's future has been up in the air for a while now. Unbound's low sales but incredible support from Team Kaizen, who were a small group of Criterion workers who made sure the game lived on for another 2 years, as the franchise turned 30 years old. They turned Unbound around completely and made it into a very much appreciated title. Sadly though, as Criterion transitioned to a support studio for Battlefield and the Saudi government begins its takeover of Electronic Arts, Need for Speed isn't in the near future plans for EA. So how did we get here? As we all know too well, EA has a history of killing off game studios, especially racing game studios. Black Box, which was the driving force behind the Skate franchise, and Need for Speed's golden era, was killed off in 2013 after a run of poor game reviews and results, like Need for Speed Undercover, which was under ridiculous stress already to meet EA's bonkers deadlines. Need for Speed then shifted to Criterion, Slightly Mad Studios, and eventually Ghost Games in 2013, the studio behind Need for Speed Heat, which was shuttered, despite becoming the most successful modern Need for Speed game just months after its release in 2020. EA usually gives a team some time, only to take them down just as everything was beginning to click, and when the potential was finally there. If you fancy a Carpod Go Mini or a T3 Pro, then click the link in the description below and use the discount code TheFerrariGuy at the checkout for $50 off your order. Support the channels that support the Ferrari Guy, and we can all work together to make this channel grow. It isn't reported much, but EA reportedly scaled back their marketing budget and cutscenes for Need for Speed Unbound because of real-life legal issues surrounding A$AP Rocky, who was supposed to be playing a massive part in Need for Speed Unbound. However, it just so happened around the release and build-up that he was undergoing a legal trial, which he was found not guilty in, of 2 counts of assault using a firearm. Once again, highlighting EA's poor reactive decision making, which has plagued them for years. Now, I can see where EA is coming from here, as racing game performances haven't been brilliant, and racing games are also quite expensive to make. Although some YouTubers believe that the racing game space is alive and well, which it is, if we are being honest, things were looking a bit stale until recently. Since 2023, as far as AAA titles, we have had 2 Forzas, the Crew Motorfest, Test Drive Unlimited Solo Crown, and so far outside of sports titles and simulators, that's sort of been it. Although we do have Clutch, which is set for release early next year, but other than that, we were having quite the dry patch. In fact, indie racing games were on the rise, which shows that racing game titles are back, and we are now moving, hopefully, towards an upward trajectory. Which makes me wonder, with the stagnation of AAA releases, did EA pull the plug at the right time? Or was this the perfect window to drop a new and improved Need for Speed? Burnout, Criterion's other racing game title, which has been on a lengthy hiatus, was also caught in the crossfire, as the latest from Criterion killed it off as well. So, as it stands, Need for Speed and Burnout are both as good as dead. If we reverse back to 2021, where EA bought Codemasters for $1.2 billion, they wanted EA to become the home of racing games. Well, when they did take over Cody's, they also took over Slightly Mad Studios. They had access to 9 racing game IPs. How many of them are still alive today? Just 1. Just fucking 1. And it is the yearly release of the F1 series, which isn't even making a new game this year for some reason, probably because Daddy Battlefield or the Saudi overlords needed every penny that they can get to pay off the debts. EA has made one promise and it does the literal opposite, leaves racing game fans in a very frustrated place and EA in a harder place when they decide to return to the genre. They simply won't be taken seriously. As a die-hard Need for Speed fan, this absolutely stinks. Need for Speed is my favourite racing game franchise by far, I have replayed their iconic titles countless times, and have so many memories of my favourite cars, driving through the amazing maps against the police, from the M3 GTR to the countless memories I have with the series. I have always loved Need for Speed's attitude. It was chaotic, slick and stylish, and it didn't care about being a polished, law-abiding racing game about a bloody poxy festival. So where to now? Personally, I think EA needs to do one of two things. Either hand the keys to a completely new studio, which I do think is the likely alternative down the line, or if I'm being a bit more blunt, if they plan to leave Need for Speed on the shelves, they might as well sell the IP altogether. Now you might be thinking, what about Codemasters? They're under the EA umbrella, they know racing. But let's look at the reality. If you look back at the video I made last year called the Codemasters Crisis, you would know that Codemasters simply don't have the capacity. After EA's brutal restructuring last year, which saw the cancellation of future WRC titles and massive layoffs, Cody's has essentially been stripped down to focus almost entirely on the F1 games. They are stretched to their absolute limit, which is tragic to see just how much of a massive studio Codemasters used to be. If EA won't let Criterion make it, and Codemasters physically can't, they need to look outside the box. Outsourcing it to a passionate AA studio that actually wants to build an arcade racer, or better yet, sell the IP to a publisher who will treat the Need for Speed name with the respect it deserves, rather than letting it sit at the bottom of a spreadsheet while they chase Battlefield money. And so, what do you think? Is Need for Speed cooked for real this time? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, which I'm not sure you did, please remember to like, share and subscribe, and support the channel where you can. And finally, thank you all so much for watching. Hope to see you all very soon.